Welcome to the best of the Morning X on 99X. It's like a participation trophy for radio shows. 99X.
If you live up in Alpharetta, on your way in this morning, if you happen to be passing by that little strip center over at the corner of Holcomb Bridge Road and Nesbitt Ferry, there's a little dry cleaner in there. Maybe you want to pick up your shirts, whatever. Make sure you stop in and see Thelma and Alan at their new establishment, Peachtree Caskets Direct. You may have read about them in the paper yesterday because there's, I think, a very interesting battle that is being waged right now between Peachtree Caskets Direct and, well, it's really a state law. Let's bring on Alan Hicks, co-owner.
This is almost like when the long-distance wars began.
Right. Now, this is, really, well, 1-800-1020 casket.
Because they're saying only that funeral directors can sell caskets, but
it is a casket showroom. They're not a funeral director. You can't bring bodies there to have them embalmed and all that. This
you just buy your caskets there.
It is a storefront casket shop.
get the box and that's it.
The very first for Metro Atlanta.
The very first one. Some of the items, some of the things you can get there, for instance, the English Garden. Hand-finished, memory tube. Memory tube?
Yeah, it's the memory tube.
I guess that's like a... Oh, hang on. Alan?
Yes, sir.
What's a memory tube?
There's a little tube on the end of the casket. It basically looks like a test tube with a sealed cap. And what they do is put the person's information inside that tube.
Maybe a little photo or something?
No, it's more personal information, name, date of birth, date of death, social security number. They started doing this a few years ago when we had the floods in Albany.
Oh, right.
And a lot of graves had floated up, and they were having a tough time figuring out who went where when they had to put them back. So now they've come up with this plan. And
not a bad idea. On the English Garden, there's also an adjustable bed. In case the person in there is uncomfortable, they can adjust the bed, I guess. And it's airtight, and it's $28.95. Compare that at the regular $4,100 at your standard funeral shop.
Alan, are you a co-owner of the shop?
Yes, sir.
How would you, when you sat down and looked at the law and it said that you couldn't sell caskets, what made you go ahead and open up a store?
Well, I ran across an article last fall. I don't remember if it was in the paper, if I ran across this on the internet, but there was a gentleman in New York that had opened, and it really interested me because I've got a cousin in another state who owns 3 funeral homes and supposedly gave our family a family discount when I lost a few relatives a few years back. And when I found out we paid $11,000 for each one of these funerals, I thought something's not right here.
They definitely have the market cornered.
It's a monopoly.
Well, we're the first one in Atlanta, and
no, I'm talking about funeral directors. I mean, they
With the
pretty
law.
much,
The funeral industry has a very strong lobbying power.
Oh, absolutely.
When it comes to getting laws passed, right?
Right.
Regarding death and death care.
Have you received any sort of cease and desist order?
No, not yet. My attorney told me when I got started, we just opened last Monday. My attorney told me it would take 30 to 60 days, but they could show up today.
Have you sold your first box yet?
Actually, we did. We sold 2 yesterday.
2?
Yeah.
Whoa, what were the circumstances?
Someone died, Jimmy.
Well, but I mean, was it somebody who already died or somebody who they expected?
No. These people passed away yesterday morning.
Oh,
so you have not been
good for you.
You've not been welcomed by the city of Atlanta, though, or Alpharetta.
Well, we haven't had any problems at all with any city officials. In fact, before I leased the retail space that we're in, I went down to business licensing and made sure that I wouldn't have a problem getting a business license and whatnot before I signed my life away on a lease, and they said no problem.
Well, now that's... wait a minute. The city issued you a business license even though there was a state law banning your type of business.
Exactly. Actually, I'm not in the city limits. It was just Fulton County.
So,
and, explained to the guy in the business license office exactly the circumstances of the business, that there was the state law in place, and he basically said, well, that doesn't affect us, and we can give you a license. And I've asked him, okay, you can't call me a month from now or 2 months from now and try to revoke my license, can you? And he said, absolutely not. So...
Let's back up.
This thing about funeral directors who say that this law, it protects consumers. No, it protects their business.
It protects
their business. Yeah. It does protect them, and I do feel like parts of the funeral services trade does need to be licensed and monitored. But something like what we're doing, to me, is just crazy to say you've got to be licensed to sell a box.
Okay, let's back up, though. There is the law states that only a funeral director can sell a casket.
Can sell funeral products. And then they've got a list of funeral products, and caskets and urns are on that list of products.
I can understand why funeral directors would be the only ones able to sell embalming fluid or certain types of chemicals, but what is the reason, what do you think is the reason that only funeral directors are allowed to sell caskets?
Well, on some of the press that I've read and some comments that we've had just from funeral directors that have called our store, they feel like we are going to be selling substandard product, etc. We're basically selling the same caskets they sell. I'm getting these caskets from the same suppliers that they buy theirs from. I'm not making these things in my garage.
They're not irregular, like maybe one of the caskets only has 3 sides?
Absolutely not.
It must have been some old lawman who owned a funeral thing back in the day and made that law. That's just the weirdest law.
Yeah, it really is. And it's totally unconstitutional. It totally blocks free trade. The Federal Trade Commission passed a law in 94 which gives the customer the right to furnish their own casket. The funeral home cannot charge a handling fee for them bringing in a casket, and they cannot raise prices on their other services.
On the other hand, on the other hand, it's kind of there is a certain advantage of convenience in shopping at a funeral home. It's kind of like a one-stop death shop.
Exactly.
And it's also a one-stop run job because they jack everything up.
They do. It's ridiculously expensive. Anybody who's ever had to pay for a funeral knows how they really jack that stuff up. On the other hand, it's like, grandma dies, and the last thing you want to have to do is run around, from strip center to strip center. You know what? I got to stop at the casket shop and then go down to Embalmers R Us.
Yeah, but if it saves you a couple of $1,000s, you should have that choice.
Oh, no doubt about it. I think that absolutely what you're doing, you know what? If you're on a budget, because, the difference between what you sell it for and other people is literally thousands of dollars. So,
what is the name of your store?
Peachtree Caskets Direct.
What are some of the nicer caskets that you have over there right now?
My favorite one is the New Yorker. It's a
favorite.
It's
New Yorker.
What, are you sleeping at sometimes?
Somebody already urinated
in it. In fact, I'm going to go with that one. I've already decided. When I saw that one come in, I was like, that is a beautiful casket.
What's so special about the New Yorker?
It's poplar, solid wood, hand finished. It is really, really pretty. But we've got woods, metals, and we've got a composite, which is basically a fiberglass, which is what they make Corvettes out of, and the finishes on those are beautiful.
Does it have the cool rear tail lights like the Corvette?
No lights.
That would be kind of cool, having a
blinking light on your casket,
something like
maybe
that.
Maybe some tail lights.
What's the bottom line there? The bottom level casket. I'm interested.
We've got one for $8.95, and I've got a couple coming in today that'll be like in the $7.50 range.
What's that? Just like an old refrigerator box?
No, it's a 20 gauge steel, non-sealed.
I'll take 2.
Great. Well, I'm going to pick them up today, so I'll bring them on down to the station.
Thanks, Alan. Alan Hicks over at Peachtree Caskets Direct. We'll send you all of our dead people.
The best of the Morning X on 99X. Barnes, Leslie, and Jimmy. The original 99X.
Next Roll with Vernon Davis. The transformative journeys of athletes, artists, and entrepreneurs.
Ladies and gentlemen, lights out, Sean Merriman.
I want to be the biggest and the best in what I do. And so whatever it takes, I'll get it done. In business and everything else, all I do is know how to fight and earn what I want.
My man, Malik S. What actor or comedian would you want to collaborate with?
Me, Jamie Foxx, and Kevin Hart in a movie. We said it on Vernon Davis podcast, and so we'll circle back and be like, yep, here go the clip.
Next Roll with Vernon Davis. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.